Marcus makes $206,000 a year, and he has two missed paychecks from disaster. Across town, Renee is sipping from a dented thermos in an old Camry. You would never guess which one of them is actually rich. Marcus has the title, the parking spot with his name stenciled on it, the watch his wife bought him. Renee has a job title that fits on one line and a 2009 Corolla with a check engine light. If you lined up their pay stubs side by side, Marcus wins by a number so large it isn't even close. If you lined up their lives 10 years from now, Renee isn't just winning, she's not playing the same game anymore. My name is Horizon, and I have spent way too much of my adult life trying to understand why income and wealth are almost unrelated. Today we're going to take these two people and walk their entire financial lives side by side. Somewhere in the middle, I'm going to show you a number that will make you slightly angry. Hold on to that. Stick around, hit subscribe, because we are going to dismantle the single biggest lie in personal finance, that a bigger paycheck makes you richer. It doesn't, it just makes you a bigger target. I'm not a financial advisor. This isn't financial advice. Okay, cool. Let's get into it. Marcus is 34. He's a director at a mid-sized tech company, a city with a cost of living that makes its own residents wince when they say the rent out loud. He makes $206,000 a year before taxes. After federal tax, state tax, and payroll deductions, he takes home around $11,800 a month, a number most people would kill for. By any conventional measure, a successful life. He has a wife, a toddler, a leased SUV with captain's chairs, a mortgage on a house that was a stretch but worth it. His old apartment, which had been perfectly fine for 6 years, suddenly felt like something he'd outgrown. His wife mentioned gently that the house 2 streets over had gone up for sale. The lease on his car was up for renewal anyway, so why not bump up a trim level? None of these were reckless decisions in isolation. Each one looked completely reasonable. That's exactly the trap. There's an old idea from the 1700s called the Diderot effect. A philosopher was gifted one beautiful scarlet robe, and suddenly his old desk looked shabby next to it, so he replaced the desk. Then the chair didn't match the desk. He spent himself into debt chasing a standard set by a robe he never asked for. Marcus's raise was the robe. The house, the SUV, the private preschool were the desk, the chair, the art. This isn't a character flaw unique to Marcus. It has a name, lifestyle creep. A darker cousin to it called hedonic adaptation. You get the raise, you upgrade your life, you feel a spike of satisfaction. Within a matter of weeks, your brain quietly resets your baseline. The bigger house stops feeling like luxury and starts feeling like home. Your nervous system does not care how much you earn. It only cares about the gap. A Goldman Sachs survey in 2025 found 41% of households earning $300,000 to $500,000 live paycheck to paycheck, a higher rate than households earning $50,000 to $100,000. Read that again. The people earning 6 times more money were more likely to say they couldn't make it to payday. The salary went up. The feeling of being financially secure did not follow it. Now look at Renee's life. She got a raise 2 years ago too. Nothing in her life changed that anyone could see. Same apartment, same Corolla, same generic brand everything. The $5,000 raise didn't go toward a new desk. It went straight into a brokerage account on autopilot. The same day her paycheck landed, before she ever had the chance to feel what that money could buy. This is the single most boring, least Instagrammable financial habit in existence. And it is also the entire reason she is winning this comparison. She never let her lifestyle find out she got a raise. Here's the open loop I promised you. The number that should be printed on the inside of every paycheck. It's called your savings rate, and it is the single most powerful variable in whether you end up wealthy. Far more powerful than your income, your investment returns, or your job title. It sounds almost too simple to matter. It matters more than anything else in this entire video. Marcus, on his $11,800 monthly take-home, spends about $11,400 of it most months. Once you add up the mortgage, the car lease, the daycare, the credit card minimums, the subscriptions nobody remembers signing up for, the we deserve this dinners that happen more often than he'd admit out loud, That leaves him saving roughly $400 a month. His savings rate hovers around 3 to 4%. Renee, on her $2,850 monthly take-home, spends about $1,700 of it. Rent, groceries, gas, a phone bill, an occasional dinner out that she budgets for in advance. That leaves her saving roughly $1,150 a month. Her savings rate is north of 40%. Let that sit for a second, because this is the entire video in one comparison. Marcus saves $400 a month on $206,000 a year. Renee saves $1,150 a month on $41,000 a year. The woman earning a fifth of his salary is putting away nearly 3 times as much money every single month. There's a reason financial researchers obsess over this number more than almost any other variable. When you're young, the actual return on your investments barely moves the needle compared to how much you set. Persons saving 40% of their income can realistically reach financial independence in under 2 decades. Someone saving 4% of their income is on a track that stretches out for 40-50 years, if it ever arrives at all. Let's do the math properly, because this sounds like a motivational poster until you actually run the numbers. Renee invests $1,150 a month into a basic low-cost index fund. After 10 years, contributing consistently and never touching it, that account is sitting around $210,000. After $20 years, compounding doesn't add, it multiplies. That account crosses into $700,000 to $800,000. After 30 years, she is sitting on $2 million to $2.3 million on a $41,000 salary, while renting a 1-bedroom apartment her entire adult life. Marcus invests his $400 a month into the same fund, same return assumption. After 10 years, he's at roughly $73,000. After 20 years, around $245,000. After $30 years, he's at approximately $750,000. On a salary 5 times the size of Renee's. Read those 2 final numbers next to each other one more time. $2.1 million versus $750,000. The person earning a fifth of the income ends up with nearly 3 times the wealth. Renee's $2 million supports a lifestyle that costs $20,400 a year to run. Marcus's $750,000 throws off about $30,000 a year, nowhere near enough to support his $136,800 lifestyle. He'd have to fundamentally collapse his entire standard of living the moment the paycheck stopped. Renee wouldn't have to change a single thing about how she lives. She's already living on what her money can sustainably produce. That's not luck. That's not because she's earning some secret return Marcus doesn't have access to. It's entirely, almost boringly, about the percentage of income each of them was willing to not spend. Here's where the timing gets genuinely cruel, and it's something almost nobody internalizes until it's too late. The earliest dollars you invest are worth dramatically more than the dollars you invest later. Picture 2 versions of Renee. One starts investing at age 26. The other waits until 31. By the time both reach 60, the early starter isn't just 5 years ahead. She's looking at a gap closer to 400. Removing those first 5 years removes every dollar of growth those contributions would have generated for the rest of the timeline. Wait 5 years to start, and you don't lose 5 years of saving. You lose the most productive 5 years your money will ever have. This is why waiting until you're earning more to start saving might be the costliest piece of advice circulating in personal finance. It trades your cheapest, most powerful dollars for the promise of bigger, but much less powerful dollars later. There's a psychological mechanism running underneath all of this that makes the trap nearly invisible. Humans don't evaluate their financial situation in absolute terms. We evaluate it relative to where we used to be. This is sometimes called the reference point problem. Marcus's reference point isn't some abstract national median income. It's the version of himself 2 years ago. It's also the colleagues at his level, most of whom are running the exact same lifestyle creep playbook. Every dinner conversation recalibrates what normal means for him upward, constantly. He's comparing himself to a moving target that always sits just slightly out of reach, no matter how much he earns, because everyone around him is on the identical treadmill. Renee's reference point is different, almost by accident rather than design. She didn't go to college with people who became corporate directors. Her peer group is other hygienists, nurses, teachers. When her rent is $780 a month, she's not measuring herself against people paying $4,000 a month for a mortgage. Her sense of doing fine requires far less fuel to sustain. Not because she's a more disciplined or virtuous person than Marcus, because the social comparison machinery in her brain has much less expensive inputs to chew on. There's research that should unsettle anyone who's felt envy scrolling through a friend's vacation photos. There's research out of Canada that tracked what happens to people living next door to lottery winners. The bigger the prize won by a neighbor, the more the people around them filed for bankruptcy. Not the winner, the neighbors. When researchers dug into what those bankrupt neighbors had spent the money on, it wasn't savings. It was the stuff sitting in a driveway where people could see it. Cars, boats, motorcycles. The neighbors didn't try to get richer. They tried to look richer, and it bankrupted them. Marcus is, in a sense, living next door to 100 invisible lottery winners. Every colleague who got the same promotion, every friend posting a renovation, every algorithm-fed glimpse of a bigger life. He's recalibrating constantly against a reference point that keeps sliding upward. He never notices it happening because everyone around him is sliding at the same pace. There's a second layer to Marcus's problem worth pulling apart. His lifestyle costs more, but maintaining the appearance of success comes with structural costs that don't exist at Renee's level. The average new car payment in America has climbed to around $767 a month. Nearly 1 in 5 new car buyers now signs up for a payment exceeding $1,000 a month. To make those numbers feel survivable, dealers stretch loans out to 84 months. Marcus's SUV lease runs him $640 a month. Over 5 years, that's $38,400 spent on a vehicle he will never own a single percentage point of. Renee's Corolla, paid off years ago, cost her roughly $40 a month in averaged maintenance and insurance. Over the same 5 years, that's about $2,400. The gap on cars alone is roughly $36. Had Marcus redirected it into the same index fund, it would be worth significantly more than the vehicles he leased. Then there's the house. Marcus's mortgage runs $3,400 a month, plus property tax, plus a renovation financed on a promotional credit card. That quietly converted to 24% interest after the promotional period ended because he forgot the exact date. Renee's rent is $780 a month, and because she rents, she has zero exposure to a furnace breaking or a roof needing replacement. The conventional wisdom says renting is throwing money away and owning is building equity. That's only true if the homeowner is buying a home that fits their actual financial life. Marcus isn't building wealth through his house. He's renting the appearance of stability from a bank, at a price that happens to be called a mortgage instead of rent, and the bank is the only party guaranteed to come out ahead. There's an entire body of research on what's sometimes called the poverty premium, but there's a less discussed mirror version that hits people exactly at Marcus's income level. The affluence premium, the cost of maintaining the visual signals that justify the salary you're earning, the work wardrobe that has to look a certain way for a director-level job, the neighborhood that comes with its own informal dress code of landscaping and renovations, the private school tuition that starts to feel less like a choice and more like an obligation. None of these costs show up on a single bill labeled status maintenance fee. They are scattered across a dozen categories, each individually justifiable, collectively enormous, almost entirely optional in a way that becomes psychologically very difficult to opt out of once inside the system.